Question. Rebbe or not Rebbe? Why is this question important? Why is this class important? And someone was saying that because questions, and what else? What else? Questions?
Credentials,
Mm-hmm.
not having the right understanding,
Having the right understanding.
having that mentality of moving captivity, or taking on other nations' titles.
Okay. So it's a question about titles. Should a Torah teacher be called a rabbi? Okay, that's the question. So we are going to go into this. There's going to be a two-part series, maybe a three-part, I'm not sure. But we're going to cover based on this right here. Matthew chapter 23 and verses from 7 to verses 9. Okay? Let's go to our next slide. Alright, titles or the works. First and foremost, titles do not supersede works. You all understand what that means? Okay? A title does not go over the works. The works is actually the important thing to really focus on, okay? Neither do they denote the works. So, the reason why I'm doing this class is because a lot of times our people are caught up in titles. And titles have overthrown so many people. So I want to clarify some of those things. I want to look into the scriptures, into the Brit Hadashah, New Testament, and bring that understanding out, okay? Because this particular Matthew that we're going to go into right now causes many people to stumble. And my job is to expose, to expound, to bring out the better understanding, okay, behind words. So let's go to the next slide. Titles, titles, titles. First of all, Ephesians chapter 4, verses 11 to 12 says, and he gave some, not everybody, but some, what? Apostles, and some he gave prophets, and some evangelists, and some pastors, and who's at the bottom of the chain? Teachers. That's where I am, at the bottom of the chain, right over here. Okay? For the what? Perfecting of the saints. The perfecting of the saints. That's the reason why he gave these job titles, okay? For the work of the ministry, for the edifying of the body of the Moshiach, till all come in what? Unity. That's the reason why we have all these men. These positions are there to bring us all together in unity. We have this until now. We have this until the Messiah actually comes. When he comes, he's going to really bring the unity that we need. Right now, we don't have the unity. We have all kinds of disarray and problems, okay? Unity of the faith and of the knowledge of the Son of the Most High, unto a perfect man, unto the measure of the stature of the fullness of the Moshiach. Okay? The job and the responsibility is to bring us into the knowledge. So every person who professes to be an apostle, their job is to bring the knowledge of the Messiah, not their personal views or their own personal selves and things like that. Okay? 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verses 27 to verses 31. Now ye are the body of Moshiach, and members in particular. And God hath set some, once again, see the word some? In the church, or the assembly, first he put the apostles, secondly prophets, then he has teachers, after that he has miracles, gifts of healings, helps, governments, diversities of tongues. So we have a language, different languages that people can speak, and the whole reason we have all these different responsibilities is simply for what? Edifying the church, bringing everyone together as one. Okay? Let's move on. 29. Are all apostles? What's the answer to that? No. Are all prophets? No. Are all the teachers? Are all teachers? No. Are all workers of miracles? Are all the gifts of healing? Do all speak with tongues? Do all interpret? But he says, but covet earnestly the best gifts, and yet show I unto you a more excellent way. Paul did not divert from his mission. His mission was simply to reach the house of Israel. To do that, it is necessary to have different people performing different roles. And there are some times you got to go to foreign countries, and you have to have the ability of speech to speak to these people. You have to know the languages. Or the Spirit of the Most High said, boom, you're going to speak German for a minute. And then the person is able to speak German. Or he may only speak German, doesn't even know what he's saying. And someone is, boom, you're going to understand what he's saying, and you're going to interpret what he's saying. You understand that?
Yes.
So there are different gifts, different responsibilities, different jobs that has to be done. Let's go to our next slide. So I'm not going to go into a whole lecture about each of these titles. I can bring the information on this later on, but for right now, I want to focus on the rabbi aspect, okay? But in the book of Deuteronomy, 27:1, 1 Timothy 5:17-18, and so forth, we have these references to elders, we have bishops, we have pastors, preachers, teachers, deacons, prophets, evangelists. And then you have other titles that you find in the scriptures, in the Bible, which are scribes and Pharisees, Sadducees, priests, and so forth. And a lot of times people, I put this at the bottom for a reason, because everyone is interested in becoming an elder. Because they see that in the book. They open the book, boom, boom, elder, okay, boom, I'll be an elder. Or a bishop. And you know bishop is really where the money starts to roll, right? In our society, when you see the title bishop, there's a certain gravity to that word, bishop, right? And you don't think of anyone higher than a bishop, right? Maybe an apostle. So we see all these names in the Bible, but these names over here, people says nah. Because when they think priest in our time, they think Catholic. Sadducees, oh, that's a bad word in the Bible. Pharisees, that's a no-no. Scribes, these are bad people. Do you know that when you read about scribes, Ezra was a scribe? Was he a bad person?
No.
No. And he was also a priest. He had multiple titles. He was also a prophet. He was also a pastor. He was also a teacher. So some people get a little confused about titles, right? Because if a man is teaching, isn't he a teacher? If he's guiding the people in the right direction, overseeing different responsibilities, making sure the widows are taken care of, the poor is being taken care of, the construction work is done, the schools are kept up, that's a bishop responsibility, an overseer, okay? If the Most High puts the Spirit upon you, boom, you become a prophet. You understand that? Let's go to the next, well, before we go to the next slide. So now, with all these titles, you will not find anyone interested in the rabbi. It's like, no, that's in the same dump heap as the rest of the ones on the bottom. So let's go to the next slide. 1 Chronicles chapter 25, verses 5 to 8. All these were the sons of Heman, the king's seer. And what's a seer? Who can tell me what a seer is? A prophet. In the words of God, the Most High, to lift up the horn. And God gave to Heman 14 sons and 3 daughters. All these were under the hands of their father for song in the house of the Lord, with cymbals, psalteries, harps, for the service of the house of God, according to the king's order to Asaph, Jeduthun, and Heman. Verse 7. So the number of them with their brethren that were instructed in the songs of the Lord, even all that were cunning, were 280. And they cast lots, ward against ward, as well as small as the great, the teacher as what? The scholar. So back in the days, we can see that there were different responsibilities. Some were set up for singing, for the song service. Even among those that were singing for the song service, you had what? The great ones. You had the teacher, and you had the scholar, the master teacher, right? 1 Timothy chapter 5, verses 17 to 18 says, "Let the elders that rule well be counted worthy of double honor, especially," so there are elders who are not laboring in the word, but it said, especially they who labor in the word and what? Doctrine. So there are elders who don't labor in the word and who don't deal with the doctrine, but they're still elders. They have a responsibility. All of these things will come as we study in the future. We're just going through this real quick. Okay? So, it says in verse 18, "For the scripture saith, You shall not muzzle the ox that treadeth out the corn, and the laborer is worthy of his reward." Now this is a precept. In the Hebrew, the ox, the symbol of the ox in the Paleo Hebrew is the aleph. It's an oxen's head. Okay? And an ox denotes a power. The word Elohim means power. And when you look at that word in Hebrew, it begins with the symbol of the ox. When Israel was sinning against the Most High, when Moses went up to the mountain, and they were there, and they made an ox, golden calf, baby, right? It was saying that ox or that calf was their power. Okay? All right. So the ox has a responsibility of not only working the field, but it's a power in itself. It's strong. It does a lot of heavy lifting. Okay? So the elders is typical, or the ox is a type of elders. Elders is a type of the ox, and they deserve to be taken care of because of the double responsibility that they have. All right, that's another class. Let's move on. So now, when it comes to your position, there's always this issue about papers, please. I want to see your credentials. Where are your credentials? Can you bring your credentials? So, by seeing your credentials, now we can accept you. You understand that? But we're going to look at some things here where you read the Bible from Genesis to Revelations, and you will not find credentials among Israel. Okay? The only credentials was your lineage. If your father was a priest, you got to prove that you're a priest and you're a priest. Okay? In that sense. But as far as credentials, you will not find that in the book. This is something that's man-made. So people ask questions. Where are your credentials? Can we see it? Let's move to the next slide. People always want to know your origins. Hey, you got an accent. Where are you from? Where did you get this from? This information from? Okay? Your educational background. What school did you go to? Did you go to Harvard? Did you go to Yale? Did you went to Oxford? Did you went to Hebrew University of Tel Aviv? Did you went to such and such? Right? They want to see your credentials, as I said before. In most cases, for example, my experiences, I've had many responses from people that says, I enjoy your teachings, wonderful teachings, but, so a spirit whispers in their little ear. They're drawn to the teachings, wow, wonderful teachings, but, where are you from? What's your background? What are your credentials? A spirit whispers in their ear, you got the credentials? They need to know this information so that they can feel comfortable. See, if they don't have the credentials, the piece of paper, if you don't put it up on, flashing or put the title, DDD or EADD or CDD or MDD or whatever title that there is, this is nah. Let me go back to where I was before. I feel more comfortable there. Even though there was giving me milk with water, I feel more comfortable because at least I know he's been somewhere. He spent 8-10 years in theology. He sat under such a bishop such and such. I feel more comfortable there. But you know what? This is nothing new. This is nothing new. Because Yeshua and his Talmudim, his disciples, went through the same problem. The same thing. Even after being impressed with his ability to educate or to teach or to break down the law, scripture, when he refused to join them, they what? They sought to destroy him. Let's go to the next slide. Let's look at some examples, okay? Luke chapter 2, verses 42. We're going to go to 46 and verses 47. And when he was 12 years old, they went up to Jerusalem, that's his parents, Joseph and Mary, after the custom of the feast. Verses 46. And it came to pass that after 3 days they found Yeshua in the temple, sitting in the middle of who? Doctors. He was asking them about surgery. He was asking them about how do you fix the heart, how do you operate, how do you do the procedures, the sutures, how do you, your technique. Is that what was happening? No. He was sitting in the midst of the doctors, both hearing them and asking them questions. And all that heard him were astonished at his understanding and his answers. How old was he? What credentials do you think a 12-year-old is going to have? So they were impressed. They were astonished. That's what astonished me. They were impressed. Like, wow, amazed. Where did he get all this knowledge from? He's sitting in the middle of the doctors. He's listened to what they have to say and he got a response to it. And they were impressed. Where did this guy come from? Okay? His understanding of what? We'll get into that. Let's go to the next slide. Matthew chapter 7, verses 28 and verses 29. And it came to pass when Yeshua had ended these sayings, the people were what? Astonished at his doctrine. For he taught them as one having what?
Authority.
The authority. And not as the scribes. So when he spoke with the understanding. He knew exactly what he was saying. With authority, conviction. Now, I think so. You see, he spoke with that authority. And usually, the reason why a lot of our people are fools because the authority doesn't come from the Most High. The authority comes from credentials. And when the person put the credentials out for us to see, we feel, okay, that's the authority. That's not the authority, brothers and sisters. Let's move on. Verse 23 of Matthew 21. And when he was come into the temple, the chief priests and the elders, these are all leaders, these are all title people, right? Of the people came unto him as he was what? Teaching, and said, by what authority doest thou these things? And who gave thee this authority? We want to know your credentials, your background, your origin. Where are you coming from, pal? Where are you from? Who gave you permission to do what you're doing? Okay. And Yeshua answered and said unto them, I also will ask you one thing. Very simple. Which if you tell me, I likewise will tell you by what authority I do these things. The baptism of John, whence was it? From heaven or of men? Who gave John the authority? Was it one of you guys here? Or was it the Most High who gave him the power? And they reasoned within themselves, check themselves, saying, if we shall say from heaven, he will say unto us, why did you not then believe him? But if we shall say of men, we fear the people, for all hold John as a prophet. See that? You can tell right away that these men who asked him the question, they were men pleasers. It was all about the title. Not to say that they didn't have the education, because they did have the education. But it was more, the weight was more on the title. How I look, how I dress, who I associate myself with. I see him with Bishop so-and-so, so he must be a good speaker. Come on, we need to get that young teacher to come into my congregation to teach. They love the praises of men rather than the praises of the Most High. Let's go to our next slide. Psalms 119, 98 to 100. Thou, through your commandments, hast made me wiser than my enemies, for they are ever with me. I have more understanding than all my teachers, for your testimonies are my what? You see why he says he brought them in a position to choose between heaven and men on earth? Because David was saying, when it comes to teaching, it has to be through the Most High. His commandments, His word, His spirit. Okay? Verses 100. I understand more than the ancients because I keep your precepts. See, the Holy Spirit will not dwell in a body that is disobedient to His words. It says so in Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 1. A malicious spirit. One that is just troubled. Or should it say, I understand more than my teachers because I have better degrees. It doesn't say that. It's all based upon keeping the word of the Most High. Because the Spirit of the Most High is not in degrees, but is in the word. That's the important thing that we need to keep in mind. Okay? It's all about the word, not about degrees. We have been fooled for a long time. Okay? And this is the reason why we have certain ministers today that are leading the people into a homosexual agenda. Because it's all based upon pleasing men. Whatever the men say, that's what they will do. Let's go. So the works, then the title. The works has to be the important focus, not the title. So, for me, it doesn't matter. If people doesn't even want to call me anything, that's fine. But let the works speak for itself. That's the important thing. Because if someone's going to stumble because of a title, then it's of no use. I want people to be fed. Do you think a starving person is going to look at a loaf of bread and says, well, is that, give me some of the brand names. Is that whole wheat, or is that white, or is that rye, or is that, what brand? Is that, Cobb Mills, yeah. Or is that, give me an expensive brand. Nature's Own, or is that Wholesome in some places. When you're starving, you don't look at titles. You just eat because you're hungry. The focus is getting the bread where it needs to go. Of course, you have to make sure that it's not stale bread or some unclean bread, right? But the point is, when you're hungry, you don't ask the title. You look for the food. Okay? So let's go. Sirach chapter 6, verses 34 to verses 37. This is what it says. Stand in the multitude of the elders, and cleave unto him that is what? Wise. This is the works. You don't just say, I'm wise. It's something that you have to see. Okay? Be willing to what? Hear every godly discourse from who? The elders. And let not the parables of understanding escape thee. So when you have the proper teaching, you have elders that knows the word, you got to find yourself, go to those elders and learn from them. This is what you have to do. And apply those things to your life. Okay? Sirach 6:36. If you see a man of understanding, what does it say? If you see it. How do you see a man of understanding? Does he have to have like a big old plaque on his chest, or some bishop clothes with all the stripes coming down with a big gown, and a ball of water and a sweat rag in his hand? No. Is that what we look for, to know that this is what we see? What is it, John?
Hear.
By listening, by seeing the works of this man, right? And if you see a man of understanding, get the betimes unto him. Quickly Run to him, right? And let your foot wear the steps of his door. We all know that many of the great teachers of arts, science, or whatever the case may be, men's type of teachers, right? There are many people who knock at their door asking to become apprentice. Can I become an apprentice? If it's a president, can I be one of your servants to learn the ropes? Whatever it is. A person who's good at a certain craft. A lot of times, when you know this is a renowned teacher, a lot of times, people, no matter how many times the teacher throws them out. How many of y'all have watched those Kung Fu movies? Where there's a master of Kung Fu. And this knucklehead student comes up, teacher, master, teach me. The flying fist of Judah or something, right? Teach me, right? So, when the student comes, and the master starts to show the student that you gotta carry this bucket of water 100 times, he's like, no, forget this. Then the teacher will say, well, you're not ready for this walk. You're not ready to learn anything. Kick him out. Student will come back again. Master, please, I want to learn. So you have to wear out the steps of the master's door, the teacher. Verse 37, let your mind be upon the ordinances of the Lord, and meditate continually in his commandments, because the teacher is to bring out the Most High's word. You understand that? He shall establish your heart and give you wisdom at your own desire. So let's jump right into the rabbi question. Let's tackle this, okay? So I laid everything out so we can see that there are titles, there are works that has to be applied. That's the focus, okay? Not the title. Now let's look at this question that has tripped many people. But actually, before we do that, let's read this. Matthew 23, 1-4. Then spake Yeshua to the multitude and to his disciples, saying, the scribes and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. All therefore, whatsoever they bid you observe, that observe and do, but do not after ye their what? Their works. For they say and do not. Now, according to the Hebrew version of this of Matthew, the original version, it actually says, all therefore whatsoever Moses bid you observe. So according to my research, this part was put in. It should have said, therefore what Moses bid you observe, that observe and do. But do ye not after their works, the scribes and the Pharisees. For they bind heavy burdens and grievous to be borne, and lay them on men's shoulders, but they themselves will not move them with one of their fingers. So the works that goes back to the Torah, that's what the Most High, that's what Yeshua wants us to focus on. Verses 5. But all their works they do, what? For to be seen. That's important. Of men. They make broad their phylacteries. You know what a phylactery is? Who knows what a phylactery is? Yeah, tell me. No. Next. Phylacteries?
The big like tassels.
Look it up. Pull it up and then we'll tackle it again. And enlarge the borders of their garments. And love the uppermost rooms at feasts, and chief seats in the synagogues, and greetings in the markets, and to be called of men, Rabbi, Rabbi. But be not ye called Rabbi, for one is your master, even Christ, and all ye are brethren. So this is where people get tripped up. So when people see that, like, yes, you see, don't call the man a rabbi. Okay. All right. Let's go back. Does anyone have? Yeah.
Small letter box containing text on vellum by Jewish men at morning prayer as a reminder to keep the law.
At morning prayer, because the Bible says in Deuteronomy, okay, that you write them and put them upon your forehead. You understand that? Okay. So this is where it comes from. The Torah, the same way we have a mezuzah. The mezuzah is that the scriptures say you put the Torah on your door. Not just that door, physical door, but also the door of your head, your hearts. Okay? So this is where it comes from. Now, let me go back for a second. This is another class, but I want to tackle just a few things, okay? Did he ever say for them not to have a phylactery? Show me where it says no.
In the scripture right here?
Did he ever say that they should not have garments, borders on their garments? What is the border of the garment? What is it referred to? The fringes. The fringes and the phylactery. Does it say in this word, but all their works they do for to be seen of men? What do? They make broad. So what's the opposite of making broad? Just leaving it as it should be. Keeping it simple. In other words, it didn't say you shouldn't have phylactery. The problem is the making broad. For what? To be seen. Flashy.
Making a show.
Do you see that? Now, let's continue. And do what? Enlarge. So they make broad one thing, and then they enlarge another thing. Did he say that the borders of your garments should not be worn? You shouldn't have any borders in your garments. Doesn't say that. This is the problem with our people reading the words of Yeshua. They read this thing and they say, that's Jewish stuff. We don't do that stuff. We're not supposed to have that. We're not supposed to have this. Did Yeshua ever say that?
No.
The issue was problem to be seen of men. He never said it because it's written in the Torah. That's part of the commandments. The next problem is they love the uppermost rooms at feasts. Is there a problem being in a room at the feast? No. The problem is that they love the uppermost. There's always going to be an uppermost. There's always going to be head of the table. So what are we supposed to do, brothers and sisters? When we go to a table and it's the head seat, it says, you know what? Let's stay away from that. Because Yeshua said to don't love the uppermost.
Take the Lord's.
Take the Lord's seat. Somebody got to sit there.
Oh yeah.
But the problem is not the seat, the location of the seat. The problem is the hearts of the people that they want to be seen of men. Let's continue. And the chief seats in the synagogues. So if I put all these chairs there must be a front row. I mean, even if I move the front row, it says the front row, too many people are trying to fill up the front row. Let's move the front row and put it in the back. When you move it, that one that was behind is going to be the front row. And you can move it all the way back. Something has to be the front row. Even if you put all the chairs outside and leave the back bench. So I'm going to take everything out and I'm going to leave the back benches alone. Because that's the back bench. Right? So when you put everything outside, what do you have? The front row. What are you supposed to do? He is not speaking about that. He is dealing with the fact that these men love to be seen. It's all in their hearts and their minds. Okay? Now, since we have that understanding to see the difference between one thing and the other, let's move to the next. And greetings. Is there a problem with saying greetings to anyone?
No.
The problem is that they love the greetings in the markets and to be called of men, Rabbi, Master, Rabbi. We're going to look at the definition behind this, okay? Verses 8. But be ye not called a rabbi. This is where our people get trips up, okay? For one is your master, even Christ, and you and all you are brethren. So remember, it says all you are brethren. I'm the master. You guys are brethren. So don't call others master. Okay? All right, let's see what the Concordance Strong's has to say. This is the same thing. And let's look at all of the Strongs. This is Greek. The Greek numbers for each of these, okay? So, And greetings in the markets, and to be called of men rabbi. You see this number here, 4461. 4461. Okay? But be not ye called rabbi, for one is your master. So we got two words, rabbi and master. Okay? Notice carefully, it's two different Greek definitions. Numbers, okay? Rabbi and master. He says one thing over here, then he replies with something else over here. We have to look at these words carefully, okay? Rabbi, the one that we saw before, 4461. The King James translates strong G4461 in the following manner. It says what? Master. It says rabbi. And it says rabbi again. It also means great one, my honorable sir. Rabbi, a title used by the Jews to address their what? Their teachers. And also honor them when not addressing them. Rebbe. The Hebrew origin, H7227. So you can find it for me. H7227 with pronominal suffix, my master. An example, rabbi as an official title of honor. Master and rabbi. Okay? So, according to the Strong's, it's saying that when Yeshua spake those words, it says, my great one, it could be also mean as honorable sir. So which one should we take? The great one, my honorable sir, or should it be referred to as a teacher? Yeshua was not speaking in terms of teachers, but he was speaking in terms of what?
The great
A great one. Don't be calling a person a great one in that sense. Okay? To elevate them to a point that they are above, even above the Most High. Okay? Let's go to the next one. Master. Let's look at the definition of this word. First one is a guide. The second one, a master or teacher. You see that? A guide, a master, or teacher. So when he was saying this, was he saying that we shouldn't be a teacher? Was he saying that? No, brothers and sisters. Let's move on. Are we forbidden to do this also? Matthew 23, verses 9. And call no man your what? Father upon the earth. For one is your Father which is in heaven. So wait a minute, we have a problem. Because higher up he says, don't call any man rabbi or master. Now he's saying, don't call any man your father, which is upon the earth. So, why is it okay to do this? Why do we still call our parents our dad our father? We have no problem with that, even among the Christian church. Who's this? Is this your father? Yeah. So, in the church, in June, there's a day called what day? Father's Day. So why don't they apply this verse to refusing to acknowledge a day called Father's Day? Think about that. I'm showing you that there's a certain level of hypocrisy that's there. Okay? That has to be exposed for what it is. Why is it okay to do this but not to say rabbi? So in all the things that Yeshua said, we ignore this one, but we pay attention to the one before. Are we picking and choosing? I think so. Let's go to the next slide. If we are forbidden to use the term rabbi, why should this be said? Why should Yeshua say this? Luke chapter 6, verses 40. The disciple is not above what? His master, but everyone that is what? Perfect shall be as his. We have a problem. We should be called master. Now, he's not saying that we should be called great one. And he's also speaking on another level too. that spiritually speaking, we should be perfect as the Messiah is perfect. Okay? But look at the usage of the English words. It can trip people up. And I want you all to see that carefully, right? Now, the word disciple is simply a learner, a pupil, or what? A disciple. Someone that is learning. So the pupil is not above his master. And you notice that I have highlighted here G1320. Let's go to the next slide. We'll cover that. John chapter 3, verses 1 to verses 2. We're going to crack this thing on the head. There was a man of the Pharisees named Nicodemus, a ruler of the Jews. The same came to Yeshua by night and said unto him, Rabbi, which is the G4461, we covered that, right? We know that you are a teacher, 1320. Come from Elohim, from God. For no man can do these miracles, see the works. That's how he knew that he was from God. Okay? Because of the works. That you do us, except the Most High is with him. Let's go to the next slide. Once again, the word rabbi that was used, that we saw, is my great one, my honorable sir, a term used among the Yehudim to address the teachers. Let's continue. Teacher, the same one that we saw. The King James Version translates Strong's 1320 in the following manner: a master. So a teacher is also known as a master. A teacher, a master, a what? Doctor? That is interesting. A teacher. In the New Testament, one who teaches concerning the things of God and the duties of man. One who is fitted to teach or thinks himself so. The teachers of the Jewish religion. Of those who by their great power as teachers draw crowds around them. An example, who? John the Baptist was a teacher. By preeminence, used by Yeshua by himself. Used of Yeshua by himself. As one who showed men the way of salvation. Of the apostles and of Paul. These are all teachers. Of those who in religious assemblies of the Christians undertook the work of the teaching with the special assistance of the Holy Spirit. Of false teachers among Christians. So teachers, it's giving you the whole breakdown. Let's go to the next slide. John chapter 3, verses 9 to verses 10. Nicodemus answered and said unto him, How can these things be? Yeshua answered and said unto him, Are you a what? Are you a master of Israel? Did Yeshua just call him a master? But didn't Yeshua say, Don't call no man a master? Okay. Are you a master of Israel, and knowest not these things? What number we have here? 1320. What did the previous one say? 1320, teacher. Go back. A master is a teacher. Are you a teacher of Israel? Knowest not these things? See what the English does? Let's go to the next slide. Once again, master is 1320. Master, doctor, a teacher. Let's move on. English words, two English words, but one meaning. So you got the teacher, 1320, found in John 3, chapter 3, verses 2. And it means a doctor, master, teacher, master. And then you have the other word, master, 1320. So you got two words used in English, the same Greek. And it means the same thing. Doctor. It's the same thing. Identical. See that? Yes.
No, I think what he was saying to him, not that you shouldn't call him master, but that he's not just a regular teacher, he's a master teacher. Like that means that he has his credential as a teacher of the law. He knows the law very well.
Absolutely. Okay, so we got one English word, two strong numbers, right? You got this one English word for master, but then you got two different strong numbers. Do you see that now, what the English is doing? The Greek 2519 says, a guide, a master, or teacher. Then the other one we looked at before, 1320, is what? Master, a doctor, a teacher. Of course, it's still a teacher, but you got two different Greek numbers. You see that? See how confusing it can be? Let's go to the next slide. But be not ye called rabbi? Question mark. John chapter 3, verses 22 to 24. We have a problem, Houston. After these things came Yeshua and his disciples into the land of Judea, and there he tarried with them and baptized. Verse 23. And John also was baptizing in Enon, near to Salim, because there was much water there, and they came and were baptized. For John was not yet cast into prison. Let's continue. So right now we're seeing John is coming into the story, into the picture. Okay? John chapter 3, verses 25 to 27. Then there arose a question between some of John's disciples. So John, while he was still alive, had his disciples follow him. Yeshua, while he was doing his thing, had his disciples. Two separate men. Two different ministries, they all had disciples. Students. You understand that? Then there arose a question between some of John's disciples and the Jews about purifying. And they came to John and said unto John, what did they call John? What did they call John? And who was John in relation to Yeshua? His cousin. Close cousin. So something must be a little funky here. Don't you think that John was filled with the Spirit from the time he was in his mother's womb? That the Spirit would say, John, when your disciples come to you and use the term rabbi, tell them to shut their big mouth, to don't do that again. What does it say? And they came unto John, his disciples, and said unto him, Teacher, Rabbi, Rabbi, he that was with you. So wait a minute. Yeshua was with John. Beyond Jordan, to whom you bear witness, behold, the same baptizeth, and all men come to him. And John answered and said, a man can receive nothing except it be given him from where? You see how we went to that before? Everything is based, the teacher must be connected to heaven. Shemayim. That's the difference. It's not the title. It's what the Spirit put in you to do certain works, brothers and sisters. So, go back a second. Rabbi G4461. Let's go. G4461. What's it says? My great one. So did the disciples, John's disciples come to John and say, my great one, my honorable sir, or were they referred to him as a master teacher? Master teacher. Okay? See that? Rabbi, Hebrew. Master. Rabbi is an official title of honor. Master, Rabbi. Let's move on. Doctors, physicians. Are the doctors physicians? Let's go to the next slide. Luke chapter 2, verses 46. If we touch on this, we'll cover it again real quick. And it came to pass that after 3 days they found him in the temple, sitting in the midst of the doctors. 1320. 1320 was master. 1320 was teacher. 1320 is doctors. Both hearing them and asking them questions. Let's go to the next slide. Acts chapter 5, verses 34. Then stood there up one in the council, a Pharisee named Gamaliel, a doctor of the law. Notice the difference. G3547. He had in reputation among all the people and commanded to put the apostles forth a little space. So because he had a good reputation among those leaders, he says, hey, give these apostles a break. He could speak with authority, and they would listen to him. He says, that's Gamaliel, he's a wise man. Yes.
So in this sense, would you consider this doctor to be a judge, since he deals with the doctor of the law?
We're coming into that. This doctor here is a professor. It's a well-known professor, a master teacher of the law. He knows the scripture back to front. He can break it down for you. Now, that's why it says a doctor of the law. This goes even a little higher. It specifies, it says this guy is a scholar in what he does. Okay? Now let's look at it. Let's look at the concordance. Doctor of the law, teacher of the law. A teacher and interpreter of the law among the Jews. So yes, in a sense, like a judge. This guy is a scholar. Not just a teacher, but he can break down the stuff to the lowest denomination, right? Of those among Christians went about as champions and interpreters of the Mosaic law. But they don't tell you that the Christians were Israelites. Let's go to the next slide. Who was Shaul, Paul's teacher? Let's see who was his teacher. Acts chapter 22 and verses 3. He says, I am verily a man which am a Jew, Yohadim, born in Tarsus, the city of Cilicia, yet brought up in this city at what? The feet of Gamaliel. This is a Hebraic idiom. Whenever you see the term feet of, it means that you are a student. That you sit at the person's feet and you listen and you learn the Torah. And taught according to the perfect manner of the law of the fathers. Now this term can go either way. In most cases in the Hebraic understanding, when you look at the term fathers, it's dealing with rabbis or teachers. You study the history, you see there was a succession of master teachers. Gamaliel was a professor. He taught. He had his own school. And Paul was one of his students, Shaul. Okay? And was zealous toward God, as ye all are this day. Let's move on. Ephesians chapter 6, verses 5 and verses 9. Just want to pull a few things here. Servants, be obedient to them that are your masters, according to the flesh, with fear and trembling, in singleness of your heart, as unto Christ. Verses 9, and ye masters, do the same things unto them, forbearing, threatening, knowing that your master also is in heaven, neither is there respect of persons with him. These same masters here, we can see some references in Colossians 3:22, Colossians 4 and 1. We also can see some stuff in 1 Timothy chapter 6, verses 1 and verses 2, Titus chapter 2, verses 9 and 1. Peter also brings up the master issue. But guess what? Even though these are different Greek numbers, and even though we already covered that masters can be a teacher, or honorable one, in this, because you see the English word here, but guess what? It doesn't mean like a teacher. It means one who actually physically owns you. Let's go to the next slide. So we have a different master we're dealing with. Let's read and see. It means Lord. That's the G2962. It means Lord, a master, a sir. He to whom a person or thing belongs, about which he has power of deciding, master, Lord, the possessor and disposer of a thing. So you are nothing but a possession. So do you see now that there are certain things that is not explained properly in the book? Do you see the usage of the word? Do you understand that it's a title? Go to the screen where it shows the different titles. Right there is fine. So do you see that there are different titles? Deacons, prophets, evangelists. And sometimes when you see a particular person in the Bible, like Moses is a teacher, Moses is considered to be a bishop. These are just titles, brothers and sisters. And sometimes people get a little carried away with titles. And because they see a term connected to your name, Rebbe. They say, the teachers are good, but I have an issue. I have a problem with that fact that he's, why did he do this? There are reasons for it. Let me give you a little hint while I'm in. If someone steals our history, our heritage, the things that were written beforehand, should we shy away from it because some bum is using our stuff? Should we say, this crown, I can't wear this crown because a bum has put it on? I should throw away the titles, or I should throw away the heritage of my forefathers because some imposter is using our things? No. That's the problem. I am simply reclaiming that which belongs to us. That's a first century title. It just simply means a teacher. Okay? One who understands the Torah. That's it. John was called one. If anyone has a problem with that, rip John chapter 3 out. Just rip it out. Just tear it out. Rip all that stuff up. Just don't quote that stuff. You have a problem with the people who call themselves Jews because they say rabbi, but then you go to the New Testament, you see the word rabbi, you ignore that. You see John was such, you ignore that. You prefer to be called bishop, no problem. But when it boils down, we must understand these are the ways of our forefathers. Some of the people who who had titles were bad people, and some were good people. We have to judge righteously.